Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk coming at you on a Red Friday, the final one of the 2024 NFL regular season on the first weekend of 2025. Kansas City Chiefs football on Sunday, the final regular season game. Don't tell them it's meaningless because they're not going to play like it. Chiefs at Broncos Sunday afternoon at Mile High Stadium or whatever they're calling it these days. We'll have it for you right here on 580 WIWWY. We'll break it down for you today on 580 Sports Talk. Welcome in, friends, ball knowers, to the show. 580 WIWW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our live video stream. You can watch us on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the channel. You can watch us on Facebook at WIBW News. I am Dan Lucero. Brendan Wrzinski is in with me today. We've got 3 hours of sports talk coming your way, including discussion about the Chiefs and the Broncos. It's a little silly to do keys to the game for a game where it's not really important if the Chiefs win or lose. But we've identified some players, some factors that are going to bear watching for the Chiefs, regardless of how the game itself shakes out. The individual performers who are going to be the most intriguing to follow if you're dialed in to Chiefs football on Sunday. Also, major Chiefs injury news, and for a change, we say that, and it's good, because a lot of times we've been talking about Chiefs injury news, it hasn't been very good.
Yeah, Chiefs health news.
Yes, this is Chiefs health news. It's good news. Watson Island might be making a return sooner than anticipated. Jaylen Watson has had his 21-day window open to return from injured reserve, and what a time it would be for the Chiefs to get back a guy who was playing at a very high level opposite Trent McDuffie at cornerback before he went down back in the 6th game of the season. We'll also talk Chiefs with Matt Derrick. Our Chiefs insider will join us from ChiefsDigest.com. He'll tap in with us at the bottom of this hour on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. We'll go wall-to-wall Chiefs in the opening hour of the program. Also today, it's a Friday during football season, so we have our Prairie Band Sportsbook 580 Sports Talk Picks Contest. It is not going super great for yours truly. Spencer slightly in the lead on win percentage. Brendan had a tough week. We've got some NFL and wildcard picks for you coming up for the weekend of football. This is a terrible weekend to pick spreads and totals because it's week 18 and so many of these games don't mean anything. And there's just so much variance as far as who's going to play hard and who's going to play period and how games are going to turn out. This is the real sickos get in on the week 18 spreads and totals.
I'm really hoping that the Chiefs win on Sunday because the one way we're going to have intrigue outside of Sunday Night Football is the Bengals win on Saturday. And then we wait until Sunday afternoon to see, wow, could they actually make the playoffs? Like that's it. Are you jazzed about the 6 or 7 seed in the NFC? No.
Yeah, whoever wins the NFC South, who cares?
Let me tell you right now, the Bucs are playing Spencer Rattler. The Bucs are going to win the NFC South.
Yeah.
Okay, that one's over.
Yeah,
there's nothing.
I don't remember there being so little drama in a week 18.
I have a belief that the expanded playoffs and also the expanded schedule have killed the final week of the season, because if there were only 6 playoff teams this week, you know where there would be a lot of drama? The 6 and the 7 seed in the NFC, because if Washington would win, then probably 12-win Green Bay would be out. Like, that would be dramatic. I would drink Windex, but that would be like dramatic and exciting. Now it's, oh no, they're in. Everything is locked in pretty much. Almost everything is locked in. Again, aside from the potential nuclear scenario for the final seed in the AFC, which I'm rooting for at this point. Like, I hope the Bengals beat the Steelers. I hope the Chiefs beat the Broncos, and I hope the Jets beat the Dolphins. I really do. At least that's an exciting team. Like, they won't win anything in the playoffs. That'd be fun. That at least gives us some intrigue this weekend.
So, yeah, that's how it works, right? If Denver wins, they're in. If Denver loses and Miami wins, Miami is in.
Correct.
And if Denver and Miami lose and Cincinnati wins, Cincinnati is in.
Correct.
And if all three teams lose, Denver backdoors their way into the playoffs. Yeah. So that's how the AFC shakes out. So the game that the Chiefs are involved in has some stakes, but not for them, only for their opponent. So we'll do our Prairie Band Sportsbook 5A Sports Talk Picks contest. I'm getting out of here at 4:30. We've got high school basketball tonight, about which more in a second. So Brendan's going to take you the rest of the way after I head out around 4:30 or so. He'll have New Year's resolutions for all of the area teams, plus 580 Sports Talk headlines, and a look ahead to the weekend in football, including the tail end of bowl season. Plus, today in the 4 o'clock hour, there can only be one, like the Highlander, What Is Wrong With You champion of 2024. Our Fail 4 will be contested today. We have 4 stories remaining. We are going to get it down to a champion today. Who will it be? Will it be Matthew Pancake, the Gorilla Wedding, Stinky Feet Shooting, or Dog Looks Like a Panda? Those are our 4 stories still remaining. Place your bets, make your votes, all those good things. Text us 785-272-9429 who you think ought to win. And you can also hit us in the YouTube live chat. If you're watching along on the YouTube stream today, 580 Sports Talk is the channel. Drop those votes into the live chat on YouTube. Who do you want to see take home the What Is Wrong With You crown for 2024? So that's what we've got teed up for you today. And again, really glad that you are with us, whether you are watching, listening, however you're consuming the program. Thanks for being here. We hope to hear from you throughout today. Again, I am out of here at about 4:30-ish. We have high school basketball following 580 Sports Talk tonight. A doubleheader at the Dungeon, and a bit of a unique one as the girls and boys for Topeka High have different opponents. Topeka High girls will be playing Life Prep Academy from just north of Wichita. And then following that, it's the renewal of a classic city rivalry, Topeka High and Highland Park in boys basketball. Highland Park unbeaten, the number 2 ranked team in 5A. The winless Trojans hoping to play spoiler at the Dungeon. Should be a raucous atmosphere in there for the renewal of that great rivalry. And we'll have the games for you tonight, right here on 580 WIWW and FM 104.9. Our 580 Preps, games of the week to start 2025. Following that at 10 o'clock, we'll have a Kansas high school basketball scoreboard show recapping the action tonight from around the state. So that is what is to come here tonight on the Sports Voice of Kansas. But we got plenty of time to get there. Let's start with the Chiefs, and let's start with the big injury news, the health news, as Brendan put it, from earlier today. The Kansas City Chiefs have designated Jaylen Watson to return from injured reserve, and he returned to practice today. The Chiefs have, at a minimum, 2 weeks, 15 days between now and their next meaningful football game, the divisional round of the playoffs. That's if they get the Saturday game. No idea what game the NFL is going to put them in, but that is if they get the Saturday game. It could be 16 days if they get the Sunday game. The 21-day window opening for Jaylen Watson means he could potentially return for that divisional round game. And if the Chiefs get him back, they are getting back a player who was performing at a Pro Bowl level when he was injured and gave the Chiefs 2 Pro Bowl level corners on the outside between him and Trent McDuffie. And we saw for a while what it looked like when he wasn't out there, and it was not pretty. Steve Spagnuolo's blitzes kept getting beat because the coverage on the outside on half the field just wasn't good enough, just wasn't up to the standard. If Jaylen Watson can return, this is a piece to the puzzle that might even allow Trent McDuffie to go back into the slot on some downs, because Joshua Williams has played good football on the outside since getting back into the starting lineup. But at a bare minimum, what it gives you in Watson and McDuffie are 2 guys who can man up and win matchups and should bolster the pass rush, bolster the effectiveness of the blitz. This would be a massive, massive addition for the Chiefs, and one that even Andy Reid earlier this week was trying to downplay, saying, yeah, I don't think we're going to get there. Really kind of slow playing the idea that this was even possible. And now it doesn't just look possible, it looks probable that Jaylen Watson is going to be on the field for the divisional round and forward. And I don't think you can understate, Brendan, just what this can do, the cascading effect that Watson's return in a positive way can have on the rest of this Chiefs defense.
Yeah, the secondary is not especially deep, as we've been over before. And I mean, it has been tested and they've done fine. I don't think it's been great for a while now, but it's been fine. But I mean, everybody gets to move back a spot, and suddenly you feel like you have a whole lot of depth with Jaylen Watson back out there. Now, is he going to play at 100%? Odds are probably not, but 80% of Jaylen Watson is better than a lot of what they've gotten at that second cornerback spot for most of the season. So yeah, I mean, this is a complete game changer. Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated, who will join us on Monday, joins us every Monday. In fact, he put on Twitter earlier that he thinks Jaylen Watson, until he got hurt, was the third best defensive player for the Chiefs. That's Chris Jones, then Trent McDuffie, then Jaylen Watson. And he was playing like it. I mean, it was the best football of his entire career through the first half of the season. I mean, if you get that back right at the right time, you've got to feel pretty good. This Chiefs team as a whole is getting really healthy at the exact right time, with Hollywood Brown back over the last couple of weeks. Now you're getting Jaylen Watson back. These supplementary pieces, really, that just help take you to another level. You got to be super fired up if you're the Chiefs and you're this Chiefs defense. You've got to be fired up if you're Dave Merritt and Steve Spagnuolo, because even if that group, Josh Williams, and, it's been a tough stretch for Najee Johnson, but, whoever, Keith Taylor,
Chris Roland Wallace.
Yeah, those other guys out there, you can play and get serviceable snaps, but you can't probably call every single thing you want to call. You probably can't be as aggressive as you'd like to be in any given situation, right? You want your best of the best guys out there in order to have the whole playbook and your whole scale of aggression available. You get Watson out there, you open that back up. So I'm sure those guys are more excited than anybody else that Jaylen Watson's on the way back. I do think it's funny, speaking of injury/health news, the Chiefs' final injury report for the week did come out.
Yeah, I'm just seeing it.
They are going to have to keep doubtful players active this week because there's about 40 of them.
Yes. So here's the list for the Chiefs. They have ruled out Jaylen Watson, obviously, because he's now on the practice report, participation report, but he's not returned from IR yet.
Still not technically on the 53.
Right. So he is out. Same with McCole Hardman, not technically on the 53 yet, but his window is open. He has been ruled out. Jawan Taylor is out. Isaiah Pacheco is out. Here are the list of doubtfuls for the Chiefs: Chris Jones, Patrick Mahomes, Trent McDuffie, Nick Bolton, Kareem Hunt, George Karlaftis, Travis Kelce, Justin Reed, and Drew Tranquill.
So if you count all those guys who are on the 53 who are either out or doubtful, that leaves you with 42 questionable or better players. You get 46 plus 2 elevations on game day. So George Karlaftis is going to be out but active this week, or whoever, because hope none of the backups get hurt.
Yeah, it's break glass in case of emergency for basically everyone who is vested.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah, everybody who's got eligible for the pension, the NFLPA. Is on this list.
Yeah, wow, Jack Cochran rolled his ankle. Oh no, wait, I thought Drew Tranquill was hurt. Nope, now he's got the green dot.
Yeah. We're not going to see a lot of familiar faces. We're going to see very little of a lot of familiar faces for the Chiefs, which we always thought was going to be the case.
We're going to get some hilarious touchdown scorers, though. Guys who are going to have huge play. It's going to look like a preseason game.
I have some guesses about that.
Ooh.
But I wanted to get to that, though, a little bit in relation to talking about this matchup between the Chiefs and the Broncos on Sunday. Because, again, our thing is it's meaningless to the Chiefs because the result in the end does not matter. It doesn't matter if they win or lose in any meaningful sense. For the Broncos, it means everything. This is a proud franchise that has not been to the playoffs since 2015. And they didn't pay Sean Payton all that money and trade a pick to get a guy to miss the playoffs his first 2 seasons as head coach. And they have had 3 weeks where all they've had to do is win one time. And they crapped the bed in the second half against the Chargers 2 weeks ago. And then last Saturday, they crapped the bed against the Bengals. And now here they are. They're about fresh out of sheets and one more chance to try and win the one game that would snap the playoff drought, the second longest playoff drought in the league, second to only the Jets. And so it means everything to them. They'll come loaded for bear. The home game for them where they always play better. The game means everything to the Broncos. So for the Chiefs, who's got the chance to be the thorn in their side? Who's got the chance to play spoiler? Because we talked about this with Mitch Holtis yesterday when he joined us, the voice of the Chiefs. You don't get to be an organization that's as successful as the Chiefs have been by just giving away competitive opportunities. Like, this is a chance for a lot of guys to get game reps and get up to speed or put some things on film for next year if they're going to be a free agent. So there are a lot of guys, I think, who have some individual things at stake that could help the Chiefs in the short and the long term based on how they perform with the expanded opportunities they get in a game like this.
I think it's also worth adding this, and this is a borrowed take. Nate Tice of Yahoo Sports on his podcast, Football 301, brought this up, talking last week about the Lions playing everyone against whoever they were playing last week. Who did the Lions play? The 49ers on Monday Night Football, yeah. And Dan Campbell saying, no, we're playing everybody. Everybody's healthy. We're playing. Everybody who is healthy is going to play. People saying, well, why? This game doesn't matter, win or lose. But it's a culture thing, and B, and his point is Nate worked in the NFL. His dad was a longtime NFL coach. Was if you play to not get hurt, you're going to get hurt. And let's be frank, if you're only going to have, including 2 elevations, 44 guys available out of a potential 46, which is nothing in the NFL, like nothing, a potential 48 actually, like you better not get hurt. So if you're out there playing, like if you're, I'll give you a little tease. One of my guys is Felix DK Uzama. If Felix is going out there like, I want to make sure I'm healthy, I might not go 100%. Nah, dude, you're more likely to get hurt. And if you are called upon in the playoffs and you can't go, like you're not useful to any team, whether it's the Chiefs or someone else. So it's an opportunity for some of these guys to put something on tape going into free agency, or, to help their case come next season's roster cuts at the end of training camp, whatever. And also go out there, play well, and try to earn yourself a little trust in case you are needed come postseason time.
The 2 guys that I think are the most interesting in this game, we talked about one of them yesterday. That's DJ Humphries, because Humphries is going to start at left tackle. We know this. That's been confirmed now by the Chiefs. It's going to be DJ Humphries in line to start at left tackle, assuming it with Jawan Taylor out, it'll be Wanye Morris over on the right side. And I wonder if he's like actually a right tackle. Wanye Morris is interesting in this game too. Like if he handles his business over at right tackle, I wonder if the Chiefs think about trying to get out from under that Jawan Taylor contract, because I don't think he's played to the money that he is owed. And I wonder if they could, if they would take a long and hard think about trying to get out from under that contract if they could. But that's for the offseason. DJ Humphries, though, is going to play left tackle. And I think the best version of the Chiefs offensive line, the best possible 5, given their roster that they could roll out there, would include Humphries at left tackle and Joe Thuney back at left guard. And that's no disrespect to how Thuney has played at left tackle, which is better than anybody could have expected. And no disrespect to how Mike Caliendo has handled left guard. I suspect we're going to see Caliendo at left guard in this game. But Thuney's an all-pro and maybe a Hall of Fame left guard. And that's his natural position. And the more guys you have at natural positions, because DJ Humphries' natural position is left tackle, the better off your line is. So this is a chance for Humphries to A, prove he's healthy, get through a game, B, show that he's up to speed with the offense, and C, show that he is a functional pass blocker against what's going to be a really good pass rush that's, again, going to be loaded for bear for Denver. They're going to be sending guys at Carson Wentz. They love to blitz. Vance Joseph's defense loves to blitz, and they've got edge guys who are having big years. Jonathan Cooper, Nick Bonito, both of whom played well against the Chiefs in the first meeting this year at Arrowhead Stadium. So DJ Humphries, for me, he might be the guy for the Chiefs, where how he performs and how he comes through this game is going to have the biggest impact on how the Chiefs look come the divisional round of the playoffs. Because if he looks like he's good to go, he'll be in there at left tackle in the divisional round.
For what it's worth, Wanye Morris in college, when he started at Tennessee, was a left tackle, had 7 starts there in the COVID year, and also was their 6th lineman a little bit. Transferred to Oklahoma, 6 games as a backup, and then 9 starts at right tackle in 2022. So he's played both sides. He was at his best and got drafted because of his play at right tackle. Man, would you rather have Taylor or Morris? I'd rather pay the premium and keep Taylor.
It's a big premium for a guy who's not playing premium level.
Here's the other side of it, though, is Patrick Mahomes' right knee is constantly in danger if it's Wanya Morris.
And that's fair. He does like to roll out to the right.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is that. And
I don't know what the Chiefs cap situation is. I haven't dug into it because they're good. That's the nice thing. When the team's good, you don't need to worry about that until after the season. If there's any amount of room, I think we're going to see like 2021 redux. Like this is going to be draft picks, free agent. Like they're going to pour resources into that again because you can't let Super Bowl 55 happen again.
No, you most certainly can't. The other guy I'm really fascinated to watch. Let me ask you this, Brendan. Are there 32 NFL quarterbacks right this second who are better than Carson Wentz? Because I don't think that answer is yes. And I don't have to think too hard.
Probably not. I mean, I think Carson Wentz is probably no worse than a top 5 backup. And when you consider at the end of the year, Tommy DeVito has been starting games.
Yeah.
The Giants would be better with Carson Wentz.
This is an audition for Carson Wentz to maybe get a starting job or a chance to win a starting job or mentor a young quarterback and start the year as a starter in a different situation next year. I think all parties involved know that this is a one-off deal for Wentz in Kansas City. He's not going to be back next year. Andy Reid has talked him up, says he deserves to be a starter in this league, but he's not going to get an opportunity if he goes out and he throws 3 picks and fumbles twice against this Broncos defense. So this is a big game for Carson Wentz.
Can he have his Matt Flynn game?
That's what I'm wondering. In the YouTube live chat, Mark B asked if he has a Nick Foles kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
It's entirely possible. Like he could go out and he can get himself paid. He can get himself another opportunity based on how he plays in this game. And with the result being meaningless, it could be like an opportunity for Carson Wentz to just go play, where I don't know that he's had an opportunity to really go and do that the last few years of his career. So interested in those guys. Real quick, Brendan, who are you interested to see on Sunday?
Yeah, I mentioned Felix. He had the sack last week. You just want to see a little bit more progress with him. He should see plenty of snaps in this game, so I hope to see more of that. And a good test because the Broncos' offensive line's pretty good. That's a really solid unit. And also Leo Chanel, who's been fine, but he hasn't had the breakout that we expected after he was so good. I mean, he was one of the 3 best players in the Super Bowl last year. Maybe this is a game where, again, he's going to be on the field a lot with no Tranquil and no Bolton out there. He's going to get a ton of snaps. Can he maybe get a little momentum going into the postseason? Nothing, earth-shattering with any of these guys, but those are 2 I would like to see a little positivity from. And for Felix, maybe he's already building on it.
Yeah, he had a sack last week, and he's starting to get more and more snaps as things go along. They've trusted him over Joshua Uche, which I think is telling. So, it'll be a lot of opportunity. He's going to play a lot of snaps, no question, on Sunday. We'll make our picks against the spread, give you our big Chief picks when we come back from this break. Matt Derrick's going to help us break it down as well. Our Chiefs Insider coming up in just a little bit. We're just getting started on this Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk. 3:33 on 580 Sports Talk. Let's register our predictions, give our big Chief picks for Sunday. Chiefs and Broncos in the regular season finale. The Chiefs are 10.5-point underdogs. I got to believe that is the largest spread that the Chiefs have faced maybe since Andy Reid has been their head coach. I don't know what the lines have been in games where there's been similar circumstances. I don't know what the line was against the Like the Chargers last year couldn't have been 10.5-point favorites because they were starting Easton Stick at quarterback against old boy Blaine Gabbert. So I don't know that the Chiefs have faced a double-digit deficit since Andy Reid's been the head coach. I would be very surprised to learn that they had, other than a scenario like this one. The total is 40 points. I am under the total. I think the Chiefs cover. I don't think they win. I think the need for the Broncos to win this game. Sean Payton, I think, has flaws as a coach, but I do think he'll have his guys up for this one. He'll have a good game plan. They'll do just enough. I have the Broncos winning 20-17. My big Chief is Carson Steele. I think he's going to get the bulk of the carries, and wouldn't be surprised to see him into the end zone for a touchdown at some point in this one for Kansas City. Spencer Dupuis, how about your pick?
My pick is the exact opposite of yours. It's Chiefs 20, Broncos 17.
Okay.
And my big Chief pick is Peyton Hendershot, finally getting another shot, pun intended there, as he came off the IR the last couple weeks. And no Travis Kelce, presumably, and see what Peyton Hendershot could do.
I'm going to pull a full Spencer here and call a really detailed shot. Chiefs 16, Broncos 15, no field goals. We're going to get to 16 and 15 with no field goals in the game. Samaje Perine, my pick for Big Chief. He had a big, real big catch in the first game against the Broncos.
Yes, he did. And he kind of, he's got the capability, I think, to catch a lot of passes out of the backfield in the offense.
Big check down kind of game.
Yeah, it could end up being one of those for Carson Wentz. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, we'll see what Matt Derrick thinks. Our Chiefs insider joins us next on 580 Sports Talk. Let's go to Kansas City and talk with our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. He joins us every Friday at this time on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Read Matt's coverage of the Chiefs at ChiefsDigest.com and check him out on social media platforms. Just search for his name, Matt Derrick. Matt, how was your New Year's celebration?
Relatively low key. I think at midnight, I was the only person awake in my house, and I was playing college football 24, whatever the heck it is. So, hey, you can't get a better New Year's than that, right?
Not that I can think of. I did not make it to midnight. First time in my adult or adolescent life, I did not make it to midnight. The dad life is running up the score on me. In recent days, it's been exhausting. So I did not make it to midnight. So kudos to you, man.
They say in the first year of fatherhood and parenthood that you do lose 1,000 hours of sleep. So
yeah, that was me trying to maybe scrape one of them back. So that's
exactly
that's what I'll call it. Matt Derrick joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. All right, Matt, we've got one more game left to play, and I've been saying it all week that the game's result is meaningless in regard to where the Chiefs are going to finish and whether or not they get the bye and all of that. But I don't think that Andy Reid has ever coached a game where he would treat it as meaningless. And I feel like the Chiefs that step out between the white lines in Denver on Sunday, they are very much going to be playing to win.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and, I've been thinking about exactly that fact. And, you go back to 2017 when, and that first game from Mahomes, and it was all the backups in there. I mean, he sent Patrick Mahomes back in the game after Tyler Bray, let it get away to try and win that game because he wanted to win that one. So, yeah, I mean, Andy Reid tries to win every single one. And I'll tell you what, I guess I'm more interested in this than I guess anybody else is, but Chiefs also have a chance to be the only second team in NFL history to win 16 regular season games. Nobody's done it since they've gone to 17, so there hasn't been a 16-1 team. I still think that's pretty cool, and no one's been talking about that. And I think Andy Reid, he'd never talk about it, but I think he'd be pretty proud if he could manage to win 16 games in a season.
Who in your mind is maybe the most interesting Chief in this game? The player that in this game you'll be watching, maybe has the most at stake on an individual level, short-term, long-term ramifications for their performance. Which Chief do you think has the most at stake on Sunday?
That's a really good question because I can interpret that a couple of different ways, but I think the obvious one that I will interpret is and say the short answer is DJ Humphries, because I think that's the one that's the most impactful. I think he is going to start at left tackle. So we'll see what he's got. And if he plays well, that's going to impact dramatically what the Chiefs are going to do on their offensive line going to the playoffs. If he plays well, then I think he stays there. He plays left tackle and it can move Joe Thuney back. If he struggles or doesn't look good or that hamstring's still giving him a problem, then you're probably keeping Joe Thuney at left tackle and Mike Caliendo at left guard going forward. So I think that's the most impactful. But I'll tell you what, I really do want to get a look at some of the young guys. And, the Chiefs put Nico Remigio on the podium today, which I guess is a pretty good indication about what they think his workload might be this weekend. And he's a great story. So I would love to see him have like an Albert Wilson kind of day, just go out there and go nuts. Don't know if that'll happen, but I think that would be a fun story. But I'll tell you the other thing that I really want to see is some of these young interior offensive linemen, especially the draft picks this year with Hunter Norzad and CJ Hansen. Remember, you got Joe Thuney with that $26.9 million cap hit next year, and you've got, Trey Smith not signed for next year. You need to see what you got in those guys. So I'd like to see them get some extensive work and see what they can do.
Matt, that one game for Albert Wilson with Patrick Mahomes got him $24 million. I think Nico Remigio would be thrilled with an outing like that.
The funny thing is that I was asking Nico the other day in his locker if he'd ever heard about Albert Wilson and knew about that contract. And when I told him, he got 3 for 24 for catching like 10 passes for 147 yards, he was like, okay, let's go do that.
Matt Derrick is our guest, covers the Kansas City Chiefs for ChiefsDigest.com, joins us every Friday here on 580 Sports Talk on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Defensive side of the ball, some great news today. Jaylen Watson is he's not back, but he's back at practice, had his IR 21-day practice window opened up. Can you kind of quantify, Matt, or qualify how big of a deal this is for the Chiefs defense?
Oh, if they could get any facsimile of Jaylen Watson as his normal self back, even for at least the last 2 games of the season, I think it would be huge. When he went down, the expectation for the Chiefs was that it was a minimum of 12 weeks, if not more. And, in 12 weeks would take him up to the AFC Championship game, which, right now, I mean, that his practice window will extend him through about, I think, February 24th. So, that would be right up to the AFC Championship game. So, the potential that he could return at that point, Chiefs never really thought that was an option. I mean, they thought, hey, best case scenario is 12 weeks, but they were not counting on Jaylen Watson ever being back. And now that you're looking at maybe the possibility that he does come back for those last 2 games, that could be huge because obviously in his absence, the Chiefs have not figured out the solution opposite Trent McDuffie. They've been continuing to rotate and match up and trying to find a solution at that cornerback spot. We'll find out in the next 3 weeks how the rehab has been going, if he's back to 100%. I mean, what percentage is he? Is it 70, 80, 90, 100? I mean, that will go a long way toward determining whether he can come back and make a difference for this team. But the fact that that's even on the table, it's not something that the Chiefs were probably even considering, when he got hurt or probably even a month ago.
I hypothesized a little bit earlier on this hour, Matt, that the biggest deal about getting Jaylen Watson back, even more so than having him step in for, Najee Johnson or Chris Rowland-Wallace or Joshua Williams or whatever, is the fact that now Spags and Dave Merritt can be as aggressive as possible, right? Like with those other guys, they might be able to give you decent snaps, but to have the whole playbook open, your full scale of aggressiveness, can't maybe do that with all those other guys. Do you think that's a fair assessment about Watson being back, that this allows the Chiefs secondary to be even more aggressive?
Yeah, I think you're probably right because there's probably some things that they consider doing, especially with Trent McDuffie, that maybe they don't think about because it would just take him out of the play or put him in a specific spot. I haven't looked at the numbers, but, intuitively you would think, well, hey, you know what? Trent McDuffie's your best cover guy. Are you going to take him out of coverage in a key spot to blitz when, even though he's really good at that, one of the best in the biz, or, I mean, are you going to take him out of that when maybe you need his coverage skills to, allow somebody else to blitz instead? You're right. I mean, they may absolutely be holding some things back or tweak some things just because they don't want to expose themselves or they feel like that they need McDuffie to cover them in some areas. So I think you're right. I mean, and it also, obviously, he has a skill set that the other guys don't have. So even if he comes back to a point where he's not like 100%, that he could give you 60, 70 snaps a game, even if he comes back to a point where it's like, okay, we can now use him in some matchup situations against receivers that maybe he fares better against and one of the other guys, that could even be at least be an option that's on your table that I don't have right now.
Does Felix Anudike-Uzomah need to have a big game this weekend?
I think it would be great. I mean, just for, his psyche and the Chiefs' psyche, I think, especially maybe being the last opportunity to get a lot of snaps and a lot of playing time heading into next season. I still think year 3 was always going to be the big one for him. I mean, I think the Chiefs would have loved if he kind of had a breakout season in year 2, but I think knowing that he was a late bloomer, that he was a younger guy, all of those factors, he's kind of always felt like and looked like a year 3 guy, that if he was going to break out, that's the time. So I think next year's the make or break year as far as, what he kind of player he turns into and who he can be. But a stepping stone to that would be right here. I mean, you're absolutely right. How often do you see guys that maybe do blossom and break out in that 3rd year, kind of prove it at the end, maybe with a strong performance? And I think he's had some good moments in the last month, but this is going to be an opportunity to play probably more snaps than going to get all other season and certainly into the postseason. So this one could be a big one. And he's not alone. I mean, there's other guys too, but I think he is an interesting one to watch.
We're joined by Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. And Matt, Chiefs are going to rest a bunch of players. 10 players going to be inactive, likely starters, according to the injury report. while it's good to get some rest for them, do you think 23 days roughly could cause some rust maybe for some players when they get back in action in the AFC divisional round?
I mean, I don't think it's significant enough. I mean, I can't think of a team that's ever really been in this situation, especially because no one ever played on a Wednesday before and had that kind of break going into a Week 18 that didn't matter. But it's and remember, it's not like these guys are going to be sitting at home on their sofas or anything. I mean, they're working out and they're working with the team, and the guys who aren't playing this week. Andy Reid kind of mentioned it, and maybe Steve Spagnuolo did as well, that, hey, the Broncos are still a team they can face in the playoffs. So they're staying engaged on that one because they know this might be a team that they face a third time. They're also letting some of these starters and guys, especially next week, kind of start peeking ahead at who some of the other opponents could be. So they're doing work ahead scouting. I mean, they'll be doing some field work as well. They'll also be getting some off days to just get some rest. But I think that's the question is, for this team, is the rust a significant factor, or is the rest and the recovery that they're going to get a bigger factor? And I think that's the key. I mean, if this team comes out and, hey, they're rusty for a quarter or a drive because they haven't had some competitive snaps in 24 days, I think that's a small trade-off for how healthy and recovered they're going to be. So I think the Chiefs will absolutely make that trade. I mean, we may feel differently if they go and they bow out in the first round. I just don't think that's going to happen, because even if they do come out a little rusty, I think they're going to knock it off pretty quickly. And inevitably, whether it's in the divisional round, championship, or the Super Bowl, I mean, I think that rest and recovery that they got is going to be a huge factor.
Couple more questions for Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, our Chiefs insider here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, what do you think the offense will look like on Sunday? Do you think they'll play it pretty close to the vest, try and run the ball, get Carson Steele some looks, and be pretty careful with the ball against this really good Denver defense? Or do you think they might just hand the keys to Carson Wentz and say, take this puppy for a spin, show us what you got?
I really think it's the latter. I mean, I don't think they're going to, really cut back the game plan in any way or go too vanilla in that sense. I mean, are we going to see their best stuff? No. I mean, if they got anything that they think is tricky that's going to work against the Broncos, I mean, we won't see that. But I think you'll at least get Carson Wentz to go out there and give him a game plan that they think that he can execute and win with. So I don't think they're going to hold a whole lot back. I think they know that there's a couple of things here. I mean, one, it's an opportunity for a lot of guys in this offense to get some snaps. Guys that, hey, if they have injuries later on during the playoff run that they might need to count on, but they also know what it means to these guys. They know what it could mean to Carson Wentz's career. A good game here, and hey, he could get a contract to compete somewhere next year for a starting job, make a lot of money. They also know things like, I think the only significant bonus this year that anybody's got, there's no $1 million sack bonus like Chris Jones last year. But DeAndre Hopkins has a $250,000 bonus for if he gets a touchdown catch. And the Chiefs want to get him one. I mean, DeAndre, I think, could care less, but the Chiefs want to get it for him. So he'll play. They'll try to get him at least a catch and a touchdown. They want one if he plays. They want to keep that streak alive, his consecutive games with a catch and a reception streak. But they want to get him that touchdown because, hey, guys like it when they make money. And Andy even said earlier this week that they do take and will take that into consideration with the playing time this week.
All right, lightning round, Matt. 10 seconds. Name the players who will score touchdowns for the Chiefs on Sunday.
I think since the Chiefs only scored 10 points, I'm going to say DeAndre Hopkins.
All right, there you go. DeAndre Hopkins, anytime touchdown. Take it to the bank. Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com is our Chiefs insider. Joined us on the Playing Place Wine and Spirits hotline. Matt, always a pleasure. We'll talk to you next week before the playoff bye.
Sounds great, guys. Take care, my friends. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. That is Matt Derrick. We'll take a break. Come back, wrap up this hour. 580 Sports Talk next. All right. Changed my mind was going to be today. Changed my mind. The Chiefs cover, but you guys think the Chiefs are winning on Sunday. So,
by the way, I did do the research into last year's game. Chargers were favored by 3.5 last year and lost by 1 to the Chiefs in a very ugly game. It was 13-12.
yes, disgusting football game.
I feel great about my pick.
Where-
I feel awesome about 16-15.
Where is Easton Stick these days? Does he have his insurance license
I
yet,
think
or is he
he's-
still backing up Justin Herbert?
I think he's third string.
Yeah, because Heineke's there.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
he's still with the Chargers.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He's their third stringer.
third string
Good
guy
call,
now.
Spencer.
Bump down the depth chart. Still,
North Dakota State legend.
UPS is hiring, man. That's all.
Did
I'm
you see
saying.
that college football player today from Washington, I think, that said he's declaring for a job market?
Good for him.
That's very
More
funny.
people ought to follow his lead, Alan Bowman.
You know, Easton Stick literally translates to baseball bat.
I was going to say hockey stick.
Yeah, that's true,
And
too.
that as well. We got Prairie Band picks, New Year's resolutions, and we crown a 2024 What is Wrong with You champion in the next hour of 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk on a Friday. So glad to be with you on this Friday on 580 WIWW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video stream on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on Twitter, on Facebook at WIBW News. Welcome, friends and ball knowers, to the program. We appreciate you being here on this Friday, hanging out with us before we all get snowed in for the weekend. Ice Storm 2025 bearing down on the better part of northeast Kansas. And I've seen a lot of maps. I've seen a lot of projections. I just think you maybe want to make sure you got some milk and bread in the crib this week.
Yeah.
Just make sure that make sure you got enough to at least last you 24 hours. It could get nasty out there. If you got any travel to do, maybe do it tonight. Maybe try not to do it Saturday, and maybe definitely avoid it on Sunday. So we've got lots of sports to get to here in this next hour of the program. 2 more hours of the show today before we break away for the 580 Preps Game of the Week doubleheader, our first high school hoops of 2024 or 2025, Jar. And we've got 2 games at the Dungeon tonight. Topeka High's girls taking on Life Prep Academy, and the Topeka High boys battling Highland Park. First time since 2022. Highland Park and Topeka High have played in a boys basketball game. The girls will play later this season. Why they're not playing tonight? Great question. I could not tell you. I don't have the answer to that. But the boys game between Topeka High and Highland Park is tonight. Really jazzed for that one, not just because it's a city versus city rivalry. It's going to be our first look at an outstanding Highland Park team this year, ranked number 2 in Class 5A by the KBCA. But there should be a lot of people at the Dungeon to see this game tonight. And you've got 2 guys who are head coaches of their respective programs, Michael Williams at Highland Park and Gio Lyons at Topeka High, who are from here, who are from the city, know how much these city rivalry games mean to not just the kids and the schools, but the alumni and the fans as well. So it's going to be a special one, I think, and people are going to be really excited to have that game back on the schedule tonight at the Dungeon. We'll have the call for you if you can't make it out to see the game. Tune in, myself and Larry Latimer, the coach, on the call tonight. Pre-game around 5:45, give or take, and then we'll get into the girls' game at approximately 6 o'clock with the boys' game to follow. So we got some things to accomplish before I have to head out of here. Once I do, it'll be Brendan solo for the final back half of the show, and he'll have some New Year's resolution for the local teams. I gave you mine in a little bit of a quick hitter on the Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk before the end of the year. Brendan's going to stretch his legs on the topic a little bit, hit all of our local teams that we cover: Chiefs, Royals, KU, K-State football, basketball. He'll have headlines. He'll have a bowl schedule, all those good things coming up later on in the program. We've also got our Fail 4 that we've got to hash out today on What Is Wrong With You. We will crown a 2024 What Is Wrong With You champion today. We have 4 stories remaining, and we want to get you to weigh in on which of these 4 stories you would like to see crowned as our champion. The 4 stories remaining: the gorilla wedding, Matthew Pancake, the stinky feet shooting, and dog looks like a panda. We got some good user-submitted names for that one from the text line yesterday. The panting pandas, or the pandas barking up the wrong tree. We got some good ones from the 785. But those are our 4 stories left. And you can text the show, 785-272-9429. 785-272-9429 is the text line. Or you can comment in the YouTube live chat if you're watching on the YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Avail yourself of the live chat, which is in the browser or the mobile device that you are watching YouTube on, and interact with us and your fellow listeners. And tell us which of those 4 stories you would like to see win tonight on our What Is Wrong With You Fail 4. The gorilla wedding, Matthew Pancake, the stinky feet shooting, or dog looks like a panda.
I just broke my own New Year's resolution for the show.
You forgot to read the chat?
I keep forgetting to read the chat.
People were talking about Spencer like an hour ago, and I was going to say something. I was going to help you out.
I saw that part of the chat.
Okay.
But like, I told myself I was gonna like go back every like few minutes and check it.
Yeah.
And I have yet to do that.
Yeah, you gotta really like get into the habit of
A good one-day resolution. It went well.
Hey, those things happen. What did Michael Wilhoit call instead of New Year's resolutions?
Their New Year's commitments.
Commitments. That's what he always calls.
Resolving to do something says nothing. You commit to doing something in the new year. That is why he is coaching in the NFL.
And I am eating Pop-Tarts and Pringles on my couch watching football games.
God, that sounds so sick, though. Man, I'll tell you something. Speaking of food, speaking of eating on the couch, last night was the Washburn basketball coaches show. First one in a month. It was good to see the coaches. Good to see both Coach Ballard and Coach Wessling. And it was also wing night at Skinny's, the home of the Washburn basketball coaches show. And I indulged in a dozen hot wings. Ladies and gentlemen, I might do it again tonight.
Look, Skinny's wings go crazy.
I gotta try them. I have to try them.
You do?
Yes,
correct.
Fact. Next Thursday, coach's show back on Thursday night next week. Wings, $1.25 each, which is like as cheap as you can find them anywhere at this point. It's crazy how expensive wings are. They are delicious.
They got wings on the menu at market price somewhere. like it's grouper.
Lobster tail? What is this?
Seriously,
ridiculous.
Some market price for wings.
Yeah,
crazy.
Swing on by, get some. They are to die for. They are so good. They're so meaty. The drum. Skinny's wings alone have swung me from I could go either way guy to a drums guy.
You're a drums guy now?
I'm a drums guy
now. That's
I'm sorry, flats. Flats.
Okay.
I misspoke. Flats.
Thank God.
Away from being a drums guy.
I don't know a drums guy, and frankly, I'm scared to meet one. I wonder what would be going on in the head of someone who's a drums guy.
Do you eat when you eat a flat wing? Do you eat it the way most people do, kind of gnawing around it like it's a corn on the cob, essentially?
I put the entire thing in my mouth and shuck
and then pull it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Like it's a husk of corn.
I've just gotten into
with
that.
my two front teeth. Yeah,
me too.
That's
I've
the
just
move.
gotten into that. Yeah.
That's like the real
eaters.
Yeah, real eaters.
Real eaters know.
Welcome to 580 Wing Talk.
That's the.
Oh man.
Where the guys tell you how to eat wings.
I think that came up on the show. I don't think that's just an off-air inside joke. The real beaters.
No, I think real beaters did come up on the air.
Real beaters.
Yeah, y'all not know real beaters, man.
You gotta get the show back on the track.
Yeah, we really do. We really do.
Thank you for tuning in to 580 Wing Talk.
We're gonna have the what is wrong with you fail 4 here in just a little bit. But first, we return to our Prairie Band Sportsbook 580 Sports Talk Picks Contest, brought to you by our friends at Prairie Band Sportsbook inside of Prairie Band Casino and Resort in Mayetta. Bet your way at Prairie Band Sportsbook and go out and check out the Sportsbook. Make that one of your New Year's commitments. If you have not been up to enjoy a sports weekend or a big sports night at Prairie Band, you should absolutely do it. Go up, get some action down, and enjoy some food, some drinks, and some sports with yourself or with your friends at Prairie Band Sportsbook. Again, inside the casino, Prairie Band Casino Resort in Mayetta. Our latest standing update, Brendan and I both went 2-3 this last week. Brendan's lock hit. His lock was Miami -6.5 over Cleveland. That cleared with ease. My lock was Dallas +7 against Philadelphia. Whoops. That was wrong. But thankfully, the under did come in for me in Notre Dame, Georgia last night, the under 44. That got me back to 2 wins for the week. So my overall record, as I say, in dead last place is 40-45-1. Brendan, 2 games under 500, had a couple of weeks hiatus on paternity leave with 35-37-1. Spencer did not get picks in last week, so he has been disqualified. I'm kidding. Trying to sit on his lead on win percentage.
You know, I remembered it, but it was right as you were doing the picks. And I opened the thing and I said, oh my God, I never did it. And then I was like, I can't do it while they're on it.
He's trying to run the 4 corners offense, trying to run out the clock after he went 5-0 2 weeks ago and ducked over 500, trying to kill the clock and win the contest.
Shout out to Brendan having a
percentage.
baby for us to change it to win percentage.
We did.
Yeah, I mean, we're already changing the rules on the fly, I feel like.
Yeah.
Can we just all, since Spencer skipped a week, can we drop our worst week?
You skipped 3 weeks.
I wish.
Can we drop our 3 worst weeks? Because I'm right back in the running.
I'd like to ask the various betting agencies if I could scratch my worst 3 weeks as well. That would be really nice.
Yeah.
So obviously the college slate largely done, except for I think there are 3 or 4 bowl games. There's one going on right now. The Mayo Bowl, is that what's right now?
No, the Duke's Mayo Bowl is tonight, currently underway. Let me go find it here. We've got the First Responder Bowl going on. Here's a fun note about this game. North Texas is playing Texas State in Dallas. The starting quarterbacks have a 7-year age difference. Texas State's quarterback is 25. North Texas's is 18, and he looks 14.
Great.
Over 9,000 career passing yards versus 69 career passing yards.
Mean Green 14, Bobcats 9, early second quarter,
Wow.
by the way.
Youth
Good old
movement.
Conference USA Sun Belt. Wait, is North Texas still in Conference USA?
North Texas.
No, they moved to the American.
They're in
didn't
the
they?
American
Okay.
now, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, that's what I think.
2 Texas schools that I have driven past both of their football stadiums.
You ever stop in San Marcos?
No.
Neither have I. I've heard stories about San Marcos.
Two stadiums, 2 teams whose stadiums are visible from the interstate.
Is San Marcos on 35?
I remember driving by it, seeing it when we were going down to San Antonio for the Final Four in 2018.
Man, I don't remember that. I remember seeing North Texas because it's like on the interstate.
Yeah, that's right. When you get to 35 West, that big interchange there, when 35 becomes 35 West.
Yeah.
And
It splits right around it.
Yes, it goes right around it. Yeah, so you're picking. Are you going into Dallas or are you going on the outskirts, like towards Speedway?
Yeah.
Apogee Stadium is right there. The campus, Denton. It's right there off the interstate.
So here's really what this bowl game is going on right now. I know we'll get to the picks in a second. Notable alumni of Texas State: Paul Goldschmidt, President Lyndon B. Johnson, George Strait. Okay,
who are 3 people who've never been in my kitchen?
notable. North Texas, Stone Cold Steve Austin. So we're on the Mean Green today.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Not even a contest.
the rest of the bowl games, did you know the ESPN? I guess he's fulfilling his what he signed on to do. Dan Mullen is in fact calling this game with Matt Berry and Harry Lyles Jr. tonight.
Even though he's employed by UNLV, that's funny. Louis
Yeah.
Riddick was busy.
I mean, unless something's changed, I
Doing it
guess
for
something could have changed,
I would have done it.
Doing it for the love of the game.
That's funny.
apparently.
or the contract he signed.
Let's get to the picks, shall we?
The love of cash.
We've got 2 NFL picks this week against the spread, and then a wild card pick, which could be anything, spread, total. You know the drill by now. I am in last place, so I'll go first. I am on the Chiefs to cover 10.5 at Denver. I think that game's going to be closer. I just don't think that a Kansas City team, they're going to sit like a lot of guys, but they're going to try. They're going to play hard. They're going to mail this game in. And Denver's under pressure, and their quarterback's under pressure. Their coach is under pressure. And I think that can – I'll tell you this. Denver falls behind or that game is tight into half, it is going to be the lemon bootiest stadium you've ever been inside in Power Field a mile high. Because that team hasn't been in the playoffs since 2015, and it's going to be Pucker City if the Broncos are close or trailing at any point in that game. I think Kansas City does keep it close, like I said. So I'm on Kansas City plus 10.5. The game that has the most meaning in the NFC will decide the number 1 seed, the NFC North title, Minnesota at Detroit. That's Sunday Night Football. I think Minnesota's playing better than Detroit right now. I'm on the Vikings plus 2.5 at Ford Field. I think they're going to Ford Field and win. I don't know that there's anybody playing better. I have not been a believer in the Vikings all year. I still don't know that I believe in them when the playoffs roll around because I don't think they have enough dudes on defense. Theirs is a triumph of scheme, and I think they're going to run into a quarterback at some point. He's just going to pick apart the blitz. But right now, I think that they are wired to beat Detroit. So I'm going to go Minnesota plus 2.5 in that one. My wild card pick, Cincinnati has been scoring at will on everybody. Pittsburgh's defense, I think, is overrated at this point. They have fewer sacks this year than the Chiefs do, and we've been talking all year. But what's the deal with the Chiefs pass rush? They got more sacks than the vaunted Steeler pass rush now, which is an interesting fact. I've got Cincinnati's over. Their team total 24.5. I'm going over. I think they get to the 30s and they win that game on Saturday night.
I don't hate that pick by any means. The Steelers also have some sort of horrible vibes going on in their locker room. One, Russell Wilson and George Pickens are... Russell Wilson the other day said that he and George Pickens were not on the same page last week. And then when asked about it, George Pickens pretty much responded by saying, I did not know we were not on the same page, which really is like not on the same page inception at that point. Also, the Steelers defense keeps talking about players who are missing assignments, and everybody is pointing the fingers at various people between Mike Tomlin, Terrell Austin, their DC, Patrick Queen, who sucks, Minkah Fitzpatrick, and Cam Sutton, I believe. It's bad. They have the second worst vibes of any playoff team. Only better than Houston, which has truly terrible vibes. My picture this week, I'm going with Jacksonville +4 on the road at Indy. Both of these teams suck. Did you guys read the story in The Athletic about the Colts yesterday?
Yes.
Awful.
How is Chris Ballard still employed?
How has he been employed for like the last 3 years? He's horrible at his job.
Yeah, I think it says something too. Who's a guy that's been pro Colts since he was on the Colts is now against the Colts, and Pat McAfee. Like he is like
his tweets about them.
verbally going after the team that made him an NFL punter and that let him. I mean, he's buddies with Irsay.
Yeah, it's ugly. Anthony Richardson's terrible. I get why people were enamored. He sucks, and he's not even playing in this game. I'm more speaking broadly. He's still been better than Joe Flacco this year. So give me the Jags in that one. I think it'll be Doug Peterson's final game regardless. Maybe Shane Steichen's final game. I'm also going with the Jets over the Dolphins. This is a vibes pick because I want the Bengals in the playoffs because they're fun. So I'm taking the Jets +1. Also might be Aaron Rodgers' final game. It's very, very possibly his final game. I think he and Devontae are just going to throw. I think there's going to be like 30 targets to Devontae Adams in this game. My wild card. FCS National Championship.
Oh, let's get it.
Monday night in prime time. North Dakota State, Montana State, over 56.5. Montana State, not known for their defense. They do, however, put up a massive amount of points. North Dakota State has been scoring a ton in their run to the championship game in Frisco as well. Probably going to be mostly NDSU fans down in Frisco. I think they're going to be a lot of points. I'm taking the over.
All right, your pick, Spencer.
All right, I'm going to go Green Bay at home against the Bears at favored by 10. Love is not playing, is he?
He's playing.
Or he's playing. They probably won't play him the entire game.
As far as I know, everybody's playing the whole game.
Oh,
Christian Watson's the only starter who's probably not playing because he's hurt.
All right, then. Well,
no, LaFleur said everyone's playing.
The Bears are just bad, right? The Commanders broke the Bears with that Hail Mary. They haven't won a game since, so I don't think they're going to end the season with a win. Kansas City, underdogs by 10.5 points. I think I already told y'all in my picks earlier, I think they're going to win this game 20-17. And then my wild card, Washington, Dallas, under 44. 2 parts here.
Ew.
Washington going to get a lead and take Jaden Daniels out and put Marcus Mariota in and run the ball. And 2, apparently Trey Lance could start this game for the Cowboys. Like, it's up in the air who's starting this game for the Cowboys.
He should. There's no reason for Cooper Rush to keep playing football. Yeah. Absolutely no reason. Do you think they'll pull Jaden Daniels? Because they've got something to play for. They don't want to go to Philly.
I think if they get a lead.
Okay.
Double-digit lead.
All right, double-digit lead. All right, I can see it.
Those are our 5A Sports Talk picks. Again, brought to you by Prairie Band Sportsbook. Bet your way at Prairie Band Sportsbook at the Prairie Band Casino and Resort. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, the Fail 4. We will choose a What Is Wrong With You champion for 2024. After this on 580 Sports Talk. It all comes down to this in 2024 or for 2024. It's our What Is Wrong With You Fail 4. 2 stories a day. What do we do? 300 odd shows a year, 280 to 300 odd shows. 2 stories a day. So 20 shows a year, 20 stories a month, 12 monthly champions down to our Fail 4 today. And there will be only one standing at the end. Our What Is Wrong With You champion, our 8th annual What Is Wrong With You championship here on 580 Sports Talk. Our first Fail 4 matchup. The Gorilla Wedding, a group of people who rolled up on a coffee shop and just had a wedding, an impromptu wedding, commandeering this small coffee shop for an hour and a half, rearranging chairs and tables and occupying those where guests who were just there to try and get a coffee could not use them, having the wedding with a photographer and everything, and paying for a grand total of 6 lattes and not leaving a tip. And then refusing to compensate the coffee shop when the coffee shop reached out and said, hey, we didn't mind you having a wedding there if you would have booked us. Here, can you at least pay the booking fee? And they were like, no, what if we just donate money? What if we just make a donation? No.
Wasn't it like pocket change too?
Like $200 was the offer.
I believe that's what it was.
Yeah, $500 for a
Ridiculous.
private event. So yeah, we'll pay you 40% of that, as a donation. That's the Gorilla Wedding up against Matthew Pancake of the Columbus Pancakes, the 31-year-old man who wore a leopard print onesie on his crime spree back in July, broke into some buildings, freed some pets from a Petland store, including a couple of gerbils, which he pocketed in his leopard print onesie when he was captured. This all happened at 2 a.m, by the way. So we have Matthew Pancake, and we have the Gorilla Wedding.
Didn't they misidentify him originally?
Yes, they called him Michael Pancake. If you look at the URL of the story, sometimes the URL of the story is sufficient.
Dead giveaway.
CWColumbus.com/news/local/Michael Pancake Gerbils Pants Break reported several stores, Hilliard, Petland, Roosters, Famous Footwear found suspect Tuesday.
That covers it.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you knew nothing else, except it's got his name wrong. No, I'm not Michael. Get it straight. I'm Matthew Pancake. And the world's going to remember my name because I broke into the Petland and holstered some hamsters. All right, Matthew Pancake or the Gorilla Wedding, guys. Who you got?
It's a hard one.
I am going to go with Matthew Pancake here. I think it's very close. The Gorilla Wedding are probably some of the worst people we've had all year.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with Matthew Pancake here for the sheer absurdity of it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
So, yes, that is unanimous. That is a clean sweep. Matthew Pancake was my vote as well. Matthew Pancake is into the final, where he will face either the Stinky Feet shooting. This was our August champion, a son who shot his dad in the face because his dad told me he had stinky feet, and he wore an Iowa Hawkeyes t-shirt in his booking photo. Should have punted. Up against Dog Looks Like a Panda, the zoo in Shanwei in China that wanted to show off some pandas but didn't have any, so they painted some dogs and thought they could get away with it.
Until it started barking.
Until the dog began to bark.
I was pounding the table yesterday for the Stinky Feet shooting.
Uh-huh.
Because it's great. It doesn't beat painting dogs to look like pandas at a zoo, though.
Yeah.
In a Chinese zoo. They
Where
thought
they
they
have
could get
pandas.
away with this. Like, maybe you could get away with this at, the Sheboygan Zoo, right?
Yeah, like this is some Tiger King nonsense. China, not only where they would be intimately familiar with pandas, also with Chow Chow.
Yes, the
a
breed,
very popular dog there.
The breed of dog that was chosen to replicate the pandas, also extremely noticeable. Like, maybe you could have passed this off in, a small town in Tennessee. You just say, hey, look, we got pandas. And the yokels might have thought, hey, cool, pandas.
I've been to Gatlinburg. That sounds about right.
So we are down to 2. Register your votes.
Are we going to do, like a hidden reveal? We're going to write it. That's what we used to do back in the day. We used to write our answers on a piece of paper, then reveal them at the same time. We're just going to say them out loud.
We're just going to say them out loud. We're just going to say them out loud today.
I have mine on paper.
Okay. That's a nice touch. Yeah. A nice blast.
Callback, yeah.
Yeah. Text your vote, 785-272-9429. And get your vote in on the YouTube live chat if you're watching on the YouTube channel 580 Sports Talk. It's Matthew Pancake and Dog Looks Like a Panda. I will say this. I felt like this was going to be the final when I started collecting the votes. And the reason that I thought this was going to be the final was I don't know that the group, the collective, laughed harder during the reveal of the story than we did when we had those two.
I think that's probably true.
I think those were probably the two hardest, loudest we laughed at a story, most fun we had with a story when it was revealed was Matthew Pancake and the Dog Looks Like a Panda. I hate choosing between these two. It breaks my heart to have to choose between these two. My vote is for the Dog That Looks Like a Panda.
Wow. I'm a little surprised. I thought you were going to go with Matthew Pancake.
I love Matthew Pancake. It kills me to vote against Matthew Pancake. Here's the reason I go with the Dog Looks Like a Panda. The reason that I'm going with the Pandas is, by the way, we have a text from the 615 who just texted the program and said, you're right about Gatlinburg.
Wild place, man.
So the reason I'm voting for the Dog Looking Like a Panda is I am partial to scam stories. Like, my heart lives with the scam story. Like, a lot of these stories, they tend to fall into different categories, but scam stories proliferate, and I just love a scam story. Scam stories crack me up. Burger King divorce incident made a run this year. That's a great scam story. But this is a scam story perpetuated by an entire zoo.
Yeah.
And the audacity to think that they could pass those dogs off for even a millisecond. Like, I imagine this great reveal. Come check out our new panda section, our new panda diorama. What are they called?
Exhibit.
Thank you. Diorama. Not a diorama. Come check out our new panda exhibit at the Shanway Zoo. Here they come, ladies and gentlemen, these beautiful animals, and they come galloping out on four legs, panting, and immediately begin to bark at the audience. Like, how did you ever think that you were going to get away with that? So Dog Looks Like a Panda gets my vote. Hard earned, but it is Dog Looks Like a Panda for me.
All right, Spencer.
Barking dogs. You can't expect you put it out there, you paint it, and then it barks. Come on. That's it for me.
That's your pick?
Yeah.
Clean sweep. I'm picking the painted dogs too. The reason for me, both of these stories are absurd. They're truly ridiculous, but I find beauty in the simplicity of it. Like, Matthew Pancake is like absurdist art. This is just it's so dumb. Yeah. Like, just a very simple, dumb thing. We painted dogs to look like pandas and put them in the zoo.
And then guess what? They barked, and everybody knows they're not real pandas.
Their tongues were hanging out.
Jeffrey makes a good point in the YouTube live chat. The panda story is fun. There's no crazy, drunk, freaky meth heads. It's just pure stupidity.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Very well put.
That's a really good point. Like, Matthew Pancake might have something like haywire in his brain that we don't know about, or he wasn't charged with any drug-related offenses.
That's true.
But, like, can we really assume sobriety when a guy gets stopped at 2 a.m. in a leopard print onesie with hamsters in his pants? Can we really give him the grace of assuming that he wasn't on a mind-altering substance of some kind? There was a committee of people at the Shanway Zoo who sat down and said, "We really want to have pandas here. Any ideas?"
And
they landed on, "Let's paint some dogs."
I love it. I'm sticking with it.
Yeah.
Panda dogs. Panda dogs.
There is frustration amidst some of our YouTube voters. I can tell you the text line is almost unanimous in favor of Pandog Mania, as one texter called it. We have a new champion, our 8th annual What Is Wrong With You champion for 2024.
I think this is the most controversial one yet.
Sung to the tune of Dude Looks Like a Lady from Aerosmith. Thank you to the texter from the 785. That was the spirit of the title of the story. Donna, Donna, dog looks like a panda. That is our winner. What is wrong with you for the year 2020?
Put it in the rafters.
Hang it up in the rafters next to Tailpipe Girl, next to the grilled cheese standoff, next to the wrong house demolition, next to the number one dad, next to all of our favorites, the bridge jumper, next to the meat suitcase, next to the family funeral feud. Dog looks like a panda is our champion. All right, I'm out of here. I got high school hoops to do tonight at the dungeon. Brendan Dupree. Yeah, my God.
I'm out as well.
Yes,
Spencer
I'm
Dupree's
solo.
out.
Spencer's out. Dan's out. But we've got some local team New Year's resolutions coming up next.
Take us to break.
.543 on 580 Sports Talk. 443. I might have misspoken there. 443. I'm Brendan Brzezinski. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Dan is on his way to the dungeon for some 580 Preps Game of the Week basketball. Split doubleheader tonight. The girls of Topeka High are taking on Life Prep out of Wichita, Park City technically. Meanwhile, the boys, Well, they've got an old school city rivalry. 501 versus 501. It's Topeka High versus Highland Park in boys action tonight at the Dungeon. Our coverage will begin at approximately 5:45 right here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, and your home for the 580 Preps Game of the Week, 580 WIWW. So it's just me the rest of the way. Spencer's also off for the rest of the afternoon. Still to come, the rest of the show today. We've got our New Year's resolutions in just a moment for all of our local programs. Chiefs, Royals, KU, K-State, both football and basketball for the latter two. We've also got some on second thought a little bit later on, right before the end of the hour. We've got a busy day of 580 Sports Talk headlines, and we'll get to some final football weekend previews as well before we send it out to Dan and the coach, Larry Latimer, at the Dungeon tonight. Still want to hear from you. You can find us on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the name of our YouTube channels. Head to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk. Make sure you subscribe while you are there. I haven't checked today, but at last check, we were up to 707 subscribers on the YouTube. Appreciate you guys. That means a lot. We put in a lot of work for all this. So thank you for all the time you've spent watching and following along, commenting. Up to 708, in fact. That's the area code where I'm from. Fun fact. 708 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed yet, go check us out on YouTube. You can also text us on the text line 785-272-9429. All right, so I've got some New Year's resolutions for our local teams. We're going to do Chiefs, Royals, KU football, KU basketball, K-State football, K-State basketball. I know Dan did some of these right before the end of 2024. Well, I am doing some as we begin 2025. We're going to start with the Kansas City Chiefs, and the easy one here is resolve to go win another Super Bowl. I'm not doing that, okay? I'm not worried about that. We're already in the midst of that. We don't want to change anything. Everybody's getting healthy. The Chiefs are playing well. The offense is picking things up. I don't feel a need to resolve to do anything differently so far this year, especially while the Chiefs are playing some of their best football. But I'm talking about into the offseason and the draft and training camp and into the start of the 2025 season. I need the Chiefs to resolve to be a little bit more fun offensively. That's what I need the Chiefs to resolve to do. I saw a graphic on Twitter earlier this week. I believe it was yesterday. I want to go find it. And it specifically noted every quarterback in the league, every qualified quarterback in the league, their negative play rate compared to their explosive play rate. Patrick Mahomes, among the very best in the entire NFL in terms of limiting negative plays. He's rated about 6.2% for his percentage of negative plays. That's really good. He is also, if my eyes are not deceiving me, and they are not, he is the fourth lowest explosive play rate of any quarterback in the NFL. You want to know who the only three who are worse are in terms of explosive play rate? Aiden O'Connell, Caleb Williams, Cooper Rush, and then Patrick Mahomes. Below rookie Drake May, below Mason Rudolph, below Tua, below Mac Jones. So Chiefs, my resolution for you in 2025, after this year, it's fine, it's working this year, open it up a little bit, take some chances. Throw the old pigskin around the yard a little bit more. Resolve to be a little bit more exciting to watch. You're good. There's no denying that. Open things up a little bit. I don't want to watch Patrick Mahomes do the smart thing for 60 minutes. I'm not interested in that. I want to watch Patrick Mahomes do the fun thing for at least some of those 60 minutes. So that's my Chiefs resolution. Play something a little more fun. I understand that you are good. I understand that it is working. But be a little bit more fun. Come on. Let's go to the other Kansas City team we're getting to here. The Royals. Normally, when you resolve to do something in the new year, you want to change something, right? I'll tell you, we talked about this earlier on the show. I personally do not do the New Year's resolution. I do the New Year's commitment, which is more symbolic than anything. That's what our pal Michael Wilhoit, the Topeka great, Washburn great, Highland Park great, former NFL player, current assistant coach for the Denver Broncos. when he told us years ago on the show, no New Year's resolutions, do a New Year's commitment, commit to doing something. I love that. But normally when you resolve or commit in the new year, you want to do something different. So I have committed to reading more this year. I've got tons and tons of books that have been given to me as gifts or that I've bought that I've never read. I want to read, but I haven't so far. So I have to work on that. Resolve to do that. Be more active this year. Get back to working out more. Okay, those are the kind of things that I'm talking about. Normally you want to change something, right? Well, here's my resolution for the Royals. Do the same thing you did last year. And no, I don't mean lose to the Yankees in the playoffs and come up short of a World Series. But I mean in terms of your approach to building a competitive team. Say 1 year was not good enough for that. And I do believe that the Royals are going to follow through with this because we've already seen the Royals make a bold move. They didn't make, a superstar trade. They didn't go out and send Vinny Pasquantino to the Marlins for Jesus Luzardo or anything like that. No, but they said, you know what? We've got good pitching. We're bringing everybody back. We re-signed Michael Wacha. We've still got our aces and Reagans and Lugo. We like our pitching depth. We've got some options in the back of the rotation. We can go get an arm possibly later in free agency. Let's move one of the arms we have that we think is expendable and go fill a major need, which is a capable leadoff hitter and infielder. Boom. Royals did it. Jonathan India, he's a Royal now. Brady Singer, he's off to Cincinnati to play for the Reds. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. You don't have to go spend like crazy. I'm not saying, hey, find a way to trade for Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge. That's not what I'm saying. Never thought the Royals were going to go get Juan Soto. But we saw in the offseason, the Royals were more than willing to spend to fill holes, and they spent intelligently. And I give credit to JJ Piccolo. And as much as it pains me to say, I give credit to John Sherman as well, because the owner's got to open up the purse strings when you're talking about Major League Baseball free agency, trades, all of that. Do more of that. Late in the year, when the Royals desperately needed somebody who could spark the offense, it didn't all work. They went and got Colton Wong. Or Tommy Pham, not Colton Wong, excuse me. Tommy Pham. Different four-letter last name. Went out and got Robbie Grossman. Just try it. Anything. I loved what the Royals did in terms of their front office acquisitions. More of that. I want to see more of that this year for the Kansas City Royals. So Kansas City, resolve to do more of the same, to re-emphasize, reinvest that good, positive fan currency you got this past season, reinvest it into the club again this year. Keep building on that momentum because, by the way, John Sherman, because I know this is the thing you care about the most, and I'm sorry, fans, because I know you're sick of hearing about it. If you want to sway public opinion into voting to give you money for a new stadium, better keep winning. Because if then you go out this year and you win 63 games, you go 63-99 or some nonsense, everyone's going to say, oh, it was a mirage. John Sherman still stinks. We're still not a winner. Why would we approve a new stadium? Just saying. I know that's what John Sherman cares about. The more you win, the more public opinion is going to be in your favor. All right. How about we're going to get to our local college teams. Mark B on YouTube does say, now about your Cubs, Brendan. Yeah, here's my resolution for the Cubs. Act like a big market team, Ricketts. I'm just going to get angry. It is too early in the year. I've had too many positive things going on in my life to get angry about the Ricketts family, who are worth billions of dollars, acting like a small market team, trying to spend like they're a AA franchise instead of one of the teams in the third biggest market in America. Spend like the big market team you are, Tom Ricketts. Jed Hoyer, you fools. That's my Cubs rant. All right, moving on to things that are going to make me slightly less upset. Let's go to the college teams. Let's go to KU. I'm going to go with my alma mater here first. I know, shocking. For KU on the football field, I think the resolution for me here, you've got to resolve to get back to basics. That's what I'm going to go with here. There was so much hype this past year. And I'm not trying to say that there was bad coaching or anything like that. I think Lance Leipold did a great job coaching, in fact. But you've got to get back to the things that helped you get to where you were before. And I think by making a change at offensive coordinator, KU is going to get there. I think being willing to make a change at defensive coordinator is going to help in that regard too. But you got to recommit to the run game, recommit to the option run game. I think that Jim Zabrowski and Matt Lubick as the new offensive coordinators are going to really, really emphasize that with Jalen Daniels. Get back to the things that got you to where you were the previous 2 seasons, maybe weren't there for KU football this past year. My KU basketball resolution for the year. Oh, I don't want to be mean to KJ Adams. I will say resolve to play the smartest basketball you can if you're Bill Self. Bill Self, I don't think, is above reproach. You guys know how I feel about Bill Self. He's one of the greatest coaches in the history of basketball, let alone just college basketball. I think he's a basketball genius. That said, you can criticize someone if they're not doing what you think they should be doing. And I don't think KU's rotations have been great. The starting lineups have been great. I think KU needs to find a way to get those figured out, to not have these slow starts, to not score just 20 points and a half against a West Virginia team, missing two of its best players, maybe its two very best players. That's my resolution for KU. Take some time, center yourself, think about what's going to make the most sense for your group going forward. And finally, let's get to K-State. My K-State resolutions for the year, I'm going to start with football. I think K-State football needs to resolve to put as much energy as possible. And I'm not saying that K-State's not already doing this, but I think needs to focus as much energy as possible on the things that are the most important in your life. That's something that like a normal person would say. Like, I want to focus my energy on the good, the things that make me the most happy. I'm going to focus my energy on that. And you know what I think is going to make Kansas State football the most happy going forward and in 2025? If Avery Johnson is a Heisman candidate like we thought he might be this year, like his recruiting pedigree would indicate he could be, I think that's there. I think Avery is already a good player. I do. I think he's a very good player. I think there's the potential for him to be a great player, though. A Kansas State, Big 12, great player. I don't think he is there yet. I think there needs to be work on some of the details, working on decision-making, processing, things like that, finding an offense that works a little more for him, maybe being a little healthier, a little less banged up next season will help in that regard. Focus your energy on making Avery Johnson the best possible version of himself. I think that is the best possible way to maximize a really, really, really talented young quarterback. And finally, my resolution for the Kansas State Wildcats men's basketball team, it is very simple. Find pieces that fit, not just the shiniest pieces. I'm not trying to say that Doug McDaniel's not a good player or Coleman Hawkins. And sure, maybe K-State goes on a miracle run through the Big 12 season. But I think the last couple of years we've seen K-State trying to go for the big splash as opposed to going for the pieces that just fit the best. I think that's what you need to resolve to do. Make sure the culture and the fit come first as opposed to just going after the big shiny object. If that was the case for K-State this year, we might be talking about a much different team than the one that went 6-5 in non-conference play. We have to get to the news. We've got about an hour left of 580 Sports Talk. We'll start with our headlines coming up here on 580 WIWW. for this shortened holiday week. I am Brendan Dworzinski. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and with our entire crew. Spencer is off for the rest of the day. Meanwhile, Dan Lucero is getting things set up at the Dungeon, one of the very best locations, arenas, stadiums, gyms in all of high school basketball here in the state of Kansas, for what should be a fun night of a split doubleheader. Topeka High girls taking on Life Prep in the opener, followed by a 5-0-1 rivalry, Topeka High versus Highland Park in boys action in the nightcap of the doubleheader. Dan and the coach, Larry Latimer, will have the call of that one coming up tonight right here on 580 WIWW. Our coverage will begin in the neighborhood of 5:45, halftime of the JV game right now. So we will get you out to the Dungeon as soon as we are ready for pregame this evening. Here in this final, 38 minutes or so of 580 Sports Talk today, we've got today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll get to those coming up in just a few moments. A lot from the college sports world, some important Chiefs notes as well. Well, let's get to a look ahead to previewing the football weekend. We've got a couple of non-playoff bowl games going on, including one that is in action right now, the First Responder Bowl in Dallas, which features two other teams from the state of Texas, in fact. That game is currently, if I can get the score up here, that game is at the half. Is that correct? This started a little bit later than I thought it was going to. I thought this game would be almost over at this point. Texas State is up 16-14 over North Texas in that game so far. Both quarterbacks over 200 yards passing. Good one down there in Dallas so far. We'll get to those bowl games. We'll get to the NFL weekend, a bizarre Week 18 slate coming up with one game that is absolutely massive in the NFC. Not a whole lot going on in the AFC. We'll talk about that, though, coming up in our next segment. We've also got a final word before we send you off to Dan and the coach at the Dungeon tonight. I want to hear from you, your thoughts on the football weekend, on anything we've talked about on the show today. Chiefs, KU, K-State, both in action this weekend as well. We haven't even gotten to any college basketball this weekend because, well, we've had so much other stuff going on. What is wrong with you? Championship. Of course, plenty of Chiefs talk to get to. K-State is on the road at TCU coming up tomorrow at 3 o'clock. I think that's a winnable game for K-State. This is not a good TCU team. They have taken a step back. That's been a good program for several years now under Jamie Dixon. Meanwhile, KU is in action on Sunday at 3 o'clock taking on UCF. Why? Why are you playing a Big 12 game on a Sunday? What are we doing? Come on. Anywho, that's the college basketball action for the weekend. We might sneak a little bit more of that coming up later on in the hour. But I want to hear from you either on the text line 785-272-9429 or on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. Head to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk, and let us know your thoughts on anything we're talking about today. You can hop into the live comments section, subscribe to the channel while you are over there. We've got 708 of you who have subscribed. We appreciate every single one of you. All right, let's get to it. Our 580 Sports Talk headlines for today. We will start in the NFL. Big news from Chiefs practice earlier this afternoon. The return to action window for cornerback Jaylen Watson has officially been opened up. In the 6 games he played to start the season, how about 6 passes defensed by Jaylen Watson? He had a couple of interceptions a couple seasons back. He's been a really solid player for the first couple of years of his career, but really took off at the start of this year when he claimed that CB2 job opposite of Trent McDuffie. So he was at practice today. He's out this weekend. He's not going to play. But this now opens up 21 practice days before the Chiefs are to make a final decision on whether or not he will be active for the rest of the year or if he is going to have to sit down and be shut down for the rest of the season, which makes the bye week that much more important for the Chiefs and getting the number 1 seed that much more important for Kansas City, because now you don't have to play him this week, get him a game week of rest, full week of practice. Then you've got the bye week through the first round, full week of practice, can rest him as much as you need. Then a full week leading up to the divisional round of the playoffs. This is the best situation possible for Jaylen Watson. He played so well at the start of the year. I am very excited that he is able to get back. I've been a big fan of Watson's since he was drafted. Thought he was so impressive as a rookie. He was more of a special teamer and kind of a supplemental piece last year. This is big. It allows the Chiefs defense to be even more aggressive, allows Spags to call up some more aggressive things you might not be able to do if Joshua Williams or Najee Johnson or Keith Taylor or Chris Roland Wallace was over there at that second cornerback spot. So really, really fired up about Jaylen Watson being able to return soon. Let's stick with the NFL, shall we? Some other notes from the National Football League today. How about the coaching carousel? We will start with some news that is locked in. We know Mike Vrabel has interviewed with the New York Jets. Vrabel was an assistant, not like a position coach, but was just sort of an analyst. That's what we'd call it in college football, an analyst for the Cleveland Browns. They let him walk away this week and said, yeah, go do your head coach interviews. That's fine. He took the year off as a head coach after being let go by the Tennessee Titans last year. He's interviewed with the Jets. It is expected that the Bears will at least have a little bit of interest in him. Probably some other teams as well that are looking for a head coach will be interested in Mike Vrabel. I think Mike Vrabel's a good coach. I've sort of had my opinion shift a little bit on him over the last year. I was a big fan of him in Tennessee. I thought he did a lot without having a ton. Now, he did have the best running back of a generation in Derrick Henry, and they really, really used Derrick Henry a lot. They had good defenses. They were a very good team. They were the number 1 seed just a few years ago. That was the 21 season, if I'm not mistaken, when the Bengals ended up upending them. But I do think he's a little bit stuck in the past in terms of some of his schematics, some of his strategy, some of his views as a head coach. I think if you put him on the Jets, they would be a more respectable team. I mean, as respectable as the Jets can be. I think if the Bears ended up hiring him, they would be a more respectable team. That would be the most Bears hire possible, by the way. Old school, hard-nosed, won't win the press conference. We're going to play defense and run the ball head coach. There's nothing more Chicago Bears than that, which is why I would not be super surprised if they did end up hiring Mike Vrabel. But one way or the other, I would not be shocked at all if he ends up getting a head coaching job this cycle. Other coaching news from Ian Rappaport and Tom Pelissero of NFL Network and NFL.com earlier today. Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones said this week he is, quote, not under any unusual time frame at all when it comes to deciding the future for head coach Mike McCarthy. However, there is a very specific timeline that the Cowboys need to act on because McCarthy's contract is set to expire on January 14th. Ladies and gentlemen, you can do some simple calendar math. That is 11 days away. So they have just about a week and a half to negotiate with Mike McCarthy, the Cowboys do, to get a new contract done if they want to bring him back. If not, can walk away. They can go explore other options. And I do think that's what's going to happen with Mike McCarthy. I don't know why you would want to bring Mike McCarthy back if you're Dallas. And I know Dak Prescott getting hurt this year threw that whole season in the toilet, but it's not like they were all that good when Dak was playing this year. I wouldn't want to deal with that if I'm being completely honest with you. If I'm Mike McCarthy and I have a chance to go get hired somewhere else, or frankly just not work for the Joneses anymore, that's probably what I would do. And if you're Dallas, why would you want to stick with the same old, same old? It was an okay but not great hire when it happened. It clearly has not worked out to the degree that the Cowboys wanted. This season sucked. They were paper tigers the last couple of years as well. I would not bring him back if I was the Dallas Cowboys. I'd let Mike McCarthy walk. I think that would be a much funnier outcome for the Chicago Bears. My focus for this coaching carousel is who Chicago is going to end up hiring because, well, they're the arch rival of my favorite team and also from Chicago. So I have a lot of, follow the team still quite a bit. My family's all Bears fans. And I've been joking a lot that the Bears are going to hire Ryan Day from Ohio State. And I think that's very funny. Specifically, if they also hired Lincoln Riley as offensive coordinator, I think that would be hilarious. However, Mike McCarthy kind of makes at least a little bit of sense, right? Mike McCarthy helped develop Aaron Rodgers. That is the thing he did. We'll see if that actually ends up coming to fruition. But if I'm the Cowboys, I'm letting Mike McCarthy walk. There is absolutely no way that I'm bringing him back. Vance does ask a question on the YouTube comments. How much of this is on Dak? I don't know. The worst sports talk answer. I don't know. I think Dak is good in the sense that you're going to win plenty of games with him at quarterback. You're always going to be competitive with him at quarterback. I don't think you can win a Super Bowl with him, though. I don't think you're ever going to be one of the best teams in the NFL with him. So, you're capped. I think that's fair, but I think that sort of plays into my point with the same old. Why would you want to bring this back? We've seen what the Cowboys are with Dak Prescott playing at a near MVP level a season ago, and with Mike McCarthy and Brian Schottenheimer as your head coach and play caller. They capped out at getting blown out in a playoff game at home. First time a 7 seed had ever won a playoff game. Like, that's capped out. Wouldn't you rather take a big swing going after a guy like, Ben Johnson, who everybody wants? And if I'm Ben Johnson, I'm not going to work for the Cowboys because I don't want to work for Jerry Jones. But why wouldn't you take a swing? Or Liam Cohen, who's a great play caller, who's the offensive coordinator right now for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Why wouldn't you want to take a swing on a guy like that who might be able to elevate everything else around Dak Prescott? That's my big question. Why would you want Mike McCarthy back? Which, again, is why I think Mike McCarthy is going to end up elsewhere. We've got another question about the coaching carousel. I do want to get to one other point here. This comes from Jacksonville. So a radio host on 1010XL in Jacksonville, that's the big sports talk station down there, said he was texting with Mark Brunell. Mark Brunell, who, of course, played in the league for a long time, mostly with the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's where he had his best years. Also went to Spencer's Washington team for a little bit. He is, I believe, the quarterback's coach for the Detroit Lions right now. Mark Brunell is. But he was texting and talking on the phone with this radio host in Jacksonville. They got a connection from back in his playing days. And Mark Brunell told this radio host on 1010XL in Jacksonville, Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator of the Lions, wants the Jaguars job. Got the quarterback in place, going to have some cap space, going to have a high draft pick this year. He wants the Jaguars job. I actually don't think that's a terrible fit, all things considered, because some of the cockamamie stuff that he draws up, I think that would do a huge service to Trevor Lawrence, who I think physically, in terms of talent and gifts wise, has more to offer than Jared Goff. And Jared Goff is kind of surprisingly not been part of the MVP conversation this year. He probably should be, whether or not you think he's a great quarterback. I mean, the numbers and the wins speak for themselves. But I think you would be very intrigued by putting him with Trevor Lawrence. We'll see. Every team looking for a head coach is going to want Ben Johnson this year. We'll see what ends up happening. But that's at least one report from Jacksonville that says Ben Johnson wants the Jacksonville job over any other. Had a question here from Jason on the YouTube comments who says, what do you think about Rex Ryan interviewing with the Jets? I think it's embarrassing by the New York Jets, to be completely honest with you. It didn't end well there. I know he took you to 2 AFC championship games. You lost both of them, by the way. Why would you want to go back to that? Do you guys remember the clown show that the Jets, they're always a clown show. The Jets have pretty much been a clown show ever since they were founded. Even the most significant and historic moments in Jets history, like, Joe Namath guaranteeing the Super Bowl. Can you imagine if they had lost? Can you imagine if the guarantee had gone wrong in Super Bowl III between the Jets and the Colts? Mayhem. So they've always been a laughing stock. But if they went back to Rex Ryan after all this time and all the nonsense with Tebow and Sanchez and the feet and whatever at the end of his Jets tenure, it'd be embarrassing. But that's par for the course for the New York Jets. So I'm not shocked they interviewed him. But God, if you ever want to have anyone believe that you're a serious organization, Jets absolutely do not go do any BS nonsense like that. All right, let's get to, actually, I want to get to one other NFL note here. So linebacker Jelani, and I want to make sure I get his last name correct here, Jelani Tavai, been a solid NFL linebacker for several years now. Well, he was asked this morning on WEEI radio in Boston. He was doing a hit with some local hosts there. And he was asked about fans booing at Gillette Stadium this past week when the Chargers beat the Patriots 40-7, as the Patriots are now 3-13. They'll probably finish the year 3-14 after losing to the Bills this weekend. And Jelani Tavai responded by saying this, quote, "There's a reason why they're fans. In the long end, they're not qualified to do what Coach Gerard Mayo is doing. Let me add here, they're fans. I appreciate them at times, but sometimes they just got to know their place and understand it's a work in progress." They got to know their place. Hey, Jelani, you know what's not going to get emotional fans? The kind of people who buy jerseys and wear them all over town. The kind of people who paint their face and chest and wear goofy helmets and hats and whatnot to games and tailgate for 6 hours before kickoff. You know what's not going to get them on your side? Saying that you appreciate them at times. There's a reason they're fans, and they got to know their place. If I'm a Pats fan, I am every single time I see Jelani Tavai, I'm booing him at this point. Your team stinks. Your head coach stinks. I know you're sticking up for your guy, but damn, man, get a grip. Come on. I understand, if you're one of those morons or a degenerate gambler who's sending death threats to a player, that's scummy. That is scummy to the core. Never do that. Players deserve better than that. However, booing, go ahead and boo. They're a fan. That's the whole point. It always surprised me, and I understand that not every NFL player, baseball player, basketball player, whatever, loves the sport, period, or grew up, an obsessive NFL fan. There was that quote a few weeks ago, a couple months ago now, from Puka Nacua, where he said he didn't even know what division the Rams were in. He didn't know all the teams in the NFL. Not everyone is obsessive. Like I used to, in my composition notebook in third grade, used to just fill pages writing, today I'm going to write the 32 NFL teams. Here's the 30 baseball teams. Here's the 30 NBA teams. That's not everybody is like that. And I understand that. But if you're a pro athlete at this level with how inescapable and omnipresent the NFL is, if you don't know that fans are passionate and are going to boo if you don't play well, dude, you're in the wrong job. You really are. Johnny Tavai, get a grip. I thought that quote was absolutely ridiculous. I understand the stuff that's especially harsh. It's just booing, man. Get over it. Give me a break. Your team stinks. They're about to be 3-14. They can boo if they want. Come on. I'm never going to back up a Patriots fan probably ever again, but come on. Give me a break. All right. Couple pieces of news and notes from the college sports world. I'm going to start with the bigger one here. I'm not sure what word to use for this. All right, so this is from John Rothstein earlier today. The NCAA is considering allowing 5 years of eligibility for all players in all sports moving forward. The topic will continue to be discussed in early 2025. Rothstein goes on to add at his website, collegehoopstoday.net, there is no timetable on when a decision will be made, but the topic will continue to be discussed in the early part of the year. Currently, all players get 4 years of eligibility. This would be a landscape-changing move for college sports, which has seen many radical changes in the past few years, such as NIL and the transfer portal. Okay, my first thought on this is it stinks. I understand being the college sports world is not like normal college. I understand that, but degree programs, generally speaking, are a 4-year thing. You would think that the normal 4-year eligibility would make sense relative to what the median college years of experience are. That all makes sense. If you're going to get rid of that, it really makes the whole thing even more of a mess. Okay, I understand that. And I understand if you say, hey, this sucks. This is stupid. It's not even college sports anymore. I get it. I completely understand if that's the way you feel. I do think, though, if you were going to tell me everybody gets 5 years and we're getting rid of all red shirts, I would be willing to listen to this. No more red shirt rule for football. You get to play 4 games, maybe a bowl game, but if you play more than that, you lose a year of eligibility. If you play less than that, you get to keep an extra year of eligibility. You threw that out. Oh, well, he only played 2 games and tore his ACL. Can he get a year back? Nope, you get 5 years. No red shirt. I don't hate it if you add that caveat. I don't know that I love it, but I would not hate it if you added that caveat. And Vance asked for a clarification on that too. Does that eliminate the red shirt rule? I think it should. If you're going to go with 5, then say you get 5 years to play 5. None of the, extra year for this, extra year for that. No waivers, no medicals, no traditional freshman red shirts. You get 5 years in college sports. I don't hate that idea. I really don't. I thought I would at first, but if you add that caveat to it, I'm okay with it. Now, you say all the other rules are in place, but we're just adding a year. Well, that's dumb. I think that's very stupid. The problem that the NCAA runs into, and I think this is the part that kind of gets glossed over, is none of this holds up in court. which is why the NCAA has become such a toothless organization it has been forever. It's been feckless forever. Now it's toothless. It can't enforce anything because all you have to do is threaten to go to court and the NCAA is going to lose because every court in America essentially has said, yeah, the NCAA is pushing nonsense and BS and none of it is legal. And we're going to tear it down bit by bit. So the NCAA, instead of enforcing things, just says, yeah, okay, sure. Why not? Most recent example, Diego Pavia got that injunction just a couple weeks ago that guys who spent the 2020 year outside the NCAA who have fulfilled the rest of their college eligibility are now potentially, probably, getting a year back next year. So Diego Pavia, a guy like that. Possibly Dean Miller, the defensive end for KU football, a guy like that who was a JUCO player in 2020. I mean, there's all this nonsense everywhere. But the NCAA can't challenge any of it and can't say no because the courts are going to strike them down. So I would be totally fine with just saying you get 5 years, no exceptions. I would live with that. I could accept that as a compromise. Are people not going to like it because what if you get hurt? Well, I lost a year when it wasn't my fault. Well, life sucks sometimes. I guess that's the NCAA's response. Is that fair? No, life's not always fair. I understand there are a lot of problems here. That's the only way I would accept it, though. If you just said, we're getting rid of red shirts, it's the only way I would end up accepting it. One other headline I did want to get to, because realignment just never dies, whether you want it to or not. Northern Illinois is on the move. MACtion has been altered permanently. According to Brett McMurphy earlier today, Northern Illinois' Board of Trustees is expected, they're meeting next Tuesday, they are expected to accept an offer to join the Mountain West as a football-only member in 2026. NIU expects to receive substantially more revenue in the Mountain West than they will in the MAC. NIU is also considering options where its non-football sports will be played. All right, a couple things. One, get it out of your system. Since when is DeKalb, Illinois the West? Since when are there mountains in DeKalb, Illinois? Okay. Geography doesn't matter anymore. Should it? Yes. Does it? No. Okay, let's get that out of our system. Football-wise, I mean, it's a good move for NIU. I'm sad that it's going to harm MACtion. It's going to take one of the best programs in the MAC out of that conference. That's a bummer. Northern Illinois is going to make a whole lot more money with a better TV deal. I also saw that they're paying $2 million to the Mountain West to join. I think that is a very interesting thing. Matt Brown of the Extra Points newsletter pointed that out on social media a little bit earlier on today. Northern Illinois is really bad at pretty much everything other than football. It's a commuter school. They stink. Like, their basketball team is ranked in the KenPom numbers lower than Wisconsin Green Bay, the team coached by Doug Gottlieb. Wisconsin Green Bay is 2-14 this year. And in the advanced metrics is ranked ahead of Northern Illinois. That's really all you need to know about NIU in basketball. Maybe moving conferences will help. I doubt it. The Mountain West doesn't want them for the non-football sports. They're going to have to go to the Ohio Valley or the Horizon or the Summit League or something like that. That's going to be its own kind of mess. I will say, the one, I don't know about positive, but the one thing this does is it pushes us even farther toward having football-only conferences and all other sports conferences, which I would love at this point, if we're being completely honest. I'd be all for it. College football needs to be its own thing. I've been advocating for most of this year to just have the Super League, the top 10 and the Big 10 and the SEC just split off, go do their own thing, leave the cool parts of college football to everybody else. College football itself is probably going to be spun off into a new organization at some point. But having college football conferences different than everything else conferences, you know what that might bring back? Regional rivalries. Can you imagine a basketball conference and an all other sports conference of, I don't know, KU, K-State, Iowa State, Missouri State, Wichita State, the Oklahoma schools, Creighton, and Nebraska? Nebraska would stay with the Big Ten teams as much as they could, but you know what I'm saying? Like, can you imagine that would be all the games, the sports that aren't football, that aren't the bigger money makers? I would love that. That would be awesome. Now, Northern Illinois doesn't really help that they're moving way to the west where they don't really belong geographically, but you understand my point. It's weird. DeKalb, Illinois, Mountain West. Doesn't really compute, but that's where we are in college sports. We owe you a timeout. Don't forget our 580 Preps game of the week doubleheader from the Dungeon, Topeka High versus Highland Park and Life Prep. That is coming up a little bit later on this hour. We've got to get to a break. We'll come on back, preview the football weekend right after this on 580 Sports Talk. .534 on 580 Sports Talk. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. Thanks so much for hanging out with me this afternoon. Dan Lucero is at the Dungeon for our 580 Preps high school basketball game of the week doubleheader. It is a split doubleheader. The Topeka High girls will take on Life Prep coming up in game 1 of the Twin Bill. Meanwhile, it's a city rivalry, a District 501 rivalry. In fact, Topeka High versus Highland Park in game 2 tonight from the Dungeon. Dan and the coach, Larry Latimer, will be on the call of that right here on your home for high school sports, the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIWW. Don't forget as well that coming up Tonight at 10 o'clock, we've got the Kansas High School Basketball Scoreboard Show with the one and only Eric Peterson. Get a look at everything going on in high school basketball around the state of Kansas today. That's from 10 to 11 right here on 580 WIWW and across the Kansas Information Network all over the state. So if you're down in Iola, maybe you're in Clay Center, maybe you're down in Hutchinson listening to us today, you're able to listen in to the Kansas High School Basketball Scoreboard Show. We've got plenty of basketball going on this weekend. Alluded to it a little bit earlier. K-State versus TCU tomorrow. KU is taking on UCF on Sunday. That's dumb. Very dumb. Why are you playing Big 12 games on Sunday? You play either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday during the week, and then you play Saturday. I don't like it. I don't like change. I don't like things that are different. All right. Off my soapbox. That's fine. I think K-State can beat TCU, to be honest with you. TCU on the season, I gotta check where they fall in the KenPom numbers so far this year. Kansas State currently sits at number 86. TCU is up at 69. K-State losing that game to Wichita State really did hurt. Right now, the Cats rank number 100 in the country in offense. That's really bad. In case you don't know, there are 364 Division I teams, and ranking number 100, if you're a high major program, that's not a spot you want to be in if you're K-State. But I don't think TCU is all that great. I don't think they are especially talented this year. I think they're less talented than they've been in, quite some time under Jamie Dixon. So it's tough to win on the road in the Big 12, we know, because K-State at home beat 16th ranked Cincinnati just earlier this week. But I do think that K-State has a chance in that one. I don't know if I'm going to pick K-State to win, but I don't think it's an impossibility. I'd put it like a 60-40 chance TCU over K-State. I think it's certainly within reach. KU's got to play smarter basketball, man. Coming up on Sunday, taking on UCF. Last year, we all remember it was one of the biggest wins in UCF history when they downed Kansas. First time KU had ever been down to Orlando and played at UCF. I mean, look, you just got to play smarter basketball. You got to score. You got to find rotations that are going to get the ball in the basket. I'm going to freak out about this. It was so frustrating in that game against West Virginia back on Tuesday afternoon. Finally, KU puts a run together with Flory Badunga on the floor. It was a rotation that seemed kind of unique and bizarre, to say the least, in modern basketball and modern KU basketball and Bill Self philosophy. But look, if that's what it takes, if actually scoring, putting some points on the board, having good offensive outputs requires Zeke Mayo, Diggy Coit, Rylan Griffin, Hunter Dickinson, and Flory Badunga on the floor, fine. Go for it. This team needs to score. I said it yesterday. It goes pretty much against every old school philosophy when it comes to playing basketball and organizing a basketball team. But if you're KU, you've got to earn the right to play defense at this point. You've got to be good at scoring the ball before any of the rest of it matters. Because if you can't score, man, you ain't going to win many games in the Big 12. You got to defend too. I understand that, but you've got to be able to put the ball in the hoop. And somebody else has to help Zeke Mayo, because he is awesome, but he cannot do it all on his own. So just a little thought for you, a little penny for your thoughts going into Sunday's game for KU. Don't forget some Ichabod's basketball coming your way this weekend as well. Washburn back in action, have been off since all the way back on December 21st, 2 weeks off, but they are back in action, and your boy is back on the mic for those games as well down in Emporia. We have not gotten word on whether or not the game has been moved at all. The games have been moved at all because of the impending winter weather. And it sounds like we are going to get a whole lot of winter weather. You heard it from Jennifer Naramore during the top of the hour weather break. But it does sound like things are going to get nasty. Game one of the doubleheader for Washburn is set to tip at 1:40 p.m. on Saturday. That's the men's game. The women are going to follow right after. The men's game is televised on Channel 38, The Spot in Kansas City. That's why that game is going first. Why not just do both of them? But that's not my decision, obviously. Hopefully, the weather doesn't appear until those games are over. I'm just going to tell you that much, because I do not want to drive up the turnpike when it is all nasty and icy out. So weather, if you're listening, could you hold off like till 7 or so. That would be great if you could hold off coming up tomorrow. Be safe out there. Make sure you're not, doing anything reckless, doing anything that that you shouldn't be doing as we get some winter weather, some real nasty winter weather for the first time this year. Drive slowly, use your hazards if you have to. Watch out for your neighbors. Make sure your gas tank is filled too. Let's get to one more commercial break on the show. We'll come back, look ahead to the football weekend, both college and NFL. That's coming up on 580 Sports Talk. .43 here on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dworzinski with you. Just a few minutes away from the start of the 580 Preps high school basketball game of the week doubleheader from the dungeon at Topeka High. It's Topeka High girls versus Life Prep, boys versus Highland Park coming up from Topeka High's gymnasium today. Dan Lucero and Larry Latimer on the call. That one coming up here in just a few minutes here on 580 WIWWY. Looking ahead to the football weekend, got a couple of bowl games coming up. As I mentioned, we've got one that's underway right now. It is the First Responder Bowl from down in Dallas. Texas State is taking on North Texas. The Bobcats of Texas State at the very end of the third quarter, final seconds of the third quarter, they lead North Texas 23-14. At one point, it was 14-9 North Texas. Last 14 points belong to Texas State. Other bowl games this weekend. We've got one tonight. We've got the Duke's Mayo Bowl, Minnesota versus Virginia Tech. 6:30 kickoff for that one. I am hoping Minnesota wins, not for any particular reason. I don't like Minnesota football necessarily. I want to see PJ Fleck dumped in mayonnaise. I just want to see him covered in Duke's Mayo. I don't really like PJ Fleck. He's obviously a good coach. I'm not sure if he's a great coach, but he's a good coach. I just want to see him covered in mayonnaise. That's really my only rooting interest. Brent and Prairie at Virginia Tech, that doesn't do as much for me. PJ Fleck, though, covered in mayonnaise, very, very funny. So I'm rooting for that particular outcome. Also, tomorrow, I believe it is our final non-playoff bowl game coming up tomorrow at 11 a.m. It is the Bahamas Bowl, the return of the Bahamas Bowl. It is going to be, if I remember correctly, Liberty versus Buffalo tomorrow down in the Bahamas. And yes, indeed, I was correct. That will be the final non-playoff bowl game. The Bahamas Bowl played at 11 a.m. on January 4th. That is just so incredibly funny. I believe there's a new stadium they're playing in for the Bahamas Bowl this year. Remember when that game was sponsored by a town in Illinois a couple years ago? It was the Makers Wanted Bowl game. Makers Wanted Bahamas Bowl, sponsored by Elk Grove Village, Illinois. If you don't remember, well, I do at the very least. The NFL action for, by the way, give me Buffalo because you're never going to catch me rooting for Liberty. All right, let's get to the NFL action this weekend. The games we are going to have aired in our area. Saturday, there's 2 games, both on ESPN. At 3:30, it's Browns versus Ravens. Yuck. The Ravens are favored by 18.5 in that game. It might have even moved toward 19.5. And then the night game on Saturday, this one actually has something on the line. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. If Baltimore wins in the first game on Saturday, they win the AFC North. If they lose, Pittsburgh still has a chance to win that division. I don't think Baltimore's going to lose, though. If Cincinnati wins Saturday, then they will be on the edge of their seats all day Sunday with a chance to get into the postseason. The games we get televised in our area on Sunday, we will get Buffalo at New England on CBS at noon. On Fox at noon, we're going to get Bears-Packers. Hell yeah. I'm very excited about that game. Packers technically have something on the line. If Green Bay wins and then Washington loses in the noon slate on Sunday, Green Bay will get the 6 seed in the NFC. Washington will get the 7. If both lose or Washington wins, that means that Washington is going to get the 6th seed in the NFC. Late game on CBS, we are going to get the Chiefs game, obviously. Late game on Fox, we are going to get Miami versus the Jets. So that is what is on the docket. There's almost nothing to play for. The only game that means anything is Sunday Night Football, which is Vikings versus Lions. Winner of that game is going to be your NFC North champion. That's the game of the week. Give me the Vikings, by the way. I'm with Dan. Lions are too banged up. I think that Vikings defense is going to do just enough against the Lions offense to hang on. So give me the Vikings in a close one. I think they win the NFC North. We have to get to one final commercial break. We'll come back with a final word. Then we'll send you out to the dungeon here on 580 WIWW. Time to wrap up 580 Sports Talk. We got to get you out to the dungeon for our 580 Preps High School Basketball Game of the Week doubleheader. So a quick final word from me. It's a simple one. It's good to be back. I was gone for almost a month from 580 Sports Talk, from the Washburn airwaves, all of that. Good to be back with Dan and Spencer this week, and great to be back with you guys as well. Thank you for the warm welcome, and how exciting that we get a full football weekend up ahead. Some college basketball this weekend as well. K-State action you'll be able to hear right here on 580 WIBW. You'll hear Washburn basketball starting at 1:25 tomorrow over on our sister station, Country 106.9. Good to be back. We'll talk to you on Monday with a full show. For Spencer, for Dan, I'm Brendan. This has been 580 Sports Talk. We'll take a quick 1-minute commercial break. Then we'll send you out to Dan Lucero and the coach, Larry Latimer, for the 580 Preps High School Basketball Game of the Week doubleheader on 580 WIBW.